This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the best all-in-one platform for all of your website building needs. Hey guys, it's Celestia, and last week I did a Will You Press the Button video where I posted a bunch of viewer-submitted art-themed dilemmas to willyoupressthebutton.com and doodled the upsides and downsides while deciding whether or not it was worth it to have 20% of all of my art turned into Tobey Maguire in return for god-tier art mentorship. Well, I started to, but there were 30 of them, and I got through exactly half of them before realizing there were way too many to fit into one video and that I would have to make two. So here's part 2. Go watch that one first if you haven't already, but if you have, let's look at the last half of these art buttons and see if any of them are as unhinged as some of the last ones, and if we agree on whether or not they're worth the price of pressing. But first, real quick, let me take a moment to thank today's sponsor, Squarespace. I've been told that at this point it isn't a real Duchess Celestia video if it doesn't start with me gushing about them because of how often I do, and the comments reflect that when it doesn't, given how many of them I get demanding to know where Squarespace is and if I'm okay. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I'm proud to be that associated with them because in my opinion, they're the best website building and hosting platform out there. Long before I started working with them on the channel, I built my personal Duchess Celestia portfolio site there, and their tools and templates made showcasing my work so easy and fun that they're always my first recommendation for any artist looking to build their own. But they're also my first recommendation for something else, too. Online stores. On Squarespace, you can turn any site into a fully functional online store with all of the tools that you need to get your business up and running, from managing payments and inventory to shipping and fulfillment. They even have SEO tools that'll help you get more eyes on it and maximize the numbers of customers that are shopping with you. And it's not just physical goods that you can sell either. They've got just as many options to let you sell services too. Consultations, event management, editing, even art commissions. Their tools make selling anything easy, with a streamlined workflow, built-in appointment scheduling, email marketing tools, and so much more. And your customers have just as many options as you do too. They offer all of the most popular payment methods like Klarna, ACH Direct Debit, Apple Pay, Afterpay, and ClearPay, and even allow you the option to send individualized branded invoices to specific clients, so you can start accepting orders from all around the world with just a few clicks. So whether you're an artist in need of a portfolio, an entrepreneur building an online store, a creator setting up an interactive blog, or a small business owner making a landing page, Squarespace is the place to do it. And you can find it yourself by going to squarespace.com to get your own free trial today. And once you've built the perfect site that you're ready to launch, you can get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain by going to squarespace.com/DuchessCelestia, linked in the description. Thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring today's video, and please go check them out. Now, back to buttons. First up, or like 16th up, I guess, but whatever, it's the first now, I've decided. Every line you draw will be perfect on the first try, but you can never use the undo or eraser tools again. Okay, this one sounds tempting initially, but kind of falls apart the more you think about it. Like, yes, every line you draw will be perfect on the first try, so you won't need to undo or erase, but lines are very far from the only thing that I undo and erase. There's no guarantee that my rendering is going to be perfect, and it's me, so it definitely won't be. And if I can't undo or erase any of it, I'm gonna have an aneurysm. Plus, what about the 87 times per piece that I don't realize I'm using the wrong brush and end up using a giant airbrush on the whole thing instead of the tiny ass brush stroke I meant to do? I'm just stuck with that? It's there forever? No way in hell. Yeah, I kind of figured this one would be pretty evenly split. I mean, a lot of it comes down to your own individual creative process and how much you use the erase and undo tools to begin with. And people who don't would probably pick perfect lines over them in a heartbeat. Plus, traditional artists don't have undo tools to begin with, so they only have to give up one thing. And it's not like erasers erase everything traditionally anyway, mostly just lines with pencil. And all your lines would be perfect, so it's almost like they're not losing anything at all. I would probably press it if it was just for my traditional art, honestly, but I stand by my refusal for digital. And apparently a lot of you do too, so that's vaguely reassuring. Okay, next, you can draw hair better than any artist in the world, but you can only draw the exact hairstyle that you currently have in real life. Wigs don't count. Yeah, no. Hard no. Immediately off the table. I could never have hair anywhere near as majestic as Chuya's, and I refuse to lose the ability to draw his just so that I can draw everyone with unkempt short hair constantly fluffing out in random directions. But like, really well, there is no world in which that's worth it. Yeah, you guys get it. Honestly, even if you're not me and you happen to have really great hair, it's gonna get really restrictive really quick to only be able to draw characters with the exact same hairstyle. And what if you want to change it, or you get a bad haircut, or you try to dye it black at home alone with $10 Manic Panic hair dye and accidentally turn it green somehow, like I definitely didn't do in middle school? Not worth the risk. Alright, next button. You can replicate any art style you want, but every time you draw the same character, they will look slightly different than the time before. Okay, I came very, very close to pressing this one. Part of me is still torn, because that's not the worst downside in the world, and it's a really good upside. Characters always look slightly different every time I draw them because I'm just bad at consistency. So getting the ability to replicate any art style with the only cost being having the same weakness I literally already have seems like the obvious choice. You could get like any art job in the industry if you could perfectly imitate any art style you want whenever you want. That would be amazing. But number one, I do want to actually overcome that weakness someday instead of just committing to having it forever. And number two, I have too little information on what constitutes slightly different. I mean sometimes forgetting or mixing up clothing details and accessories, or putting the part of the character's hair on the wrong side. I have no assurance here that slightly different doesn't mean sometimes I'll draw a character with the completely wrong hair color or eye color or outfit, or suddenly they have 6 fingers and suddenly I'm essentially replicating AI mistakes just by making them slightly different. And that's just not worth the risk for me. Plus, as handy as the ability to replicate art styles would be in industry work, I'm happy doing independent work in my own style, so I don't know if I'd even get that much use out of god-tier skill at copying someone else's. Huh, that's closer than I thought, actually. I thought more people would take issue with the ambiguity of slightly different, honestly, but I get why it would be worth the risk for some. Plus, not everyone's out here drawing the same characters over and over again like I am anyway, so it might not even be that much of a risk at all for some of them. Fair enough. Okay, next up, you can perfectly modify any part of your art without needing to use the selection tool or switch layers, but you no longer have an undo button. My deep and unyielding addiction to the undo button made me instinctively refuse this one, but thinking on it more, I think I actually would press it. If I could perfectly and essentially effortlessly modify everything I do, I'm fairly confident that I could just do that instead of needing to use the undo tool at all. As it is, the liquify tool is imprecise and finicky, and distorting and transforming with the selection tool immediately turns everything into a pixelated pile of garbage. But if that wasn't the case and I could essentially modify raster art losslessly and easily, like vector art, I honestly think that would be a lot more valuable of a tool than the undo button, to the point that it would kind of make it redundant. With the exception of the aforementioned use of the wrong brush accidentally turning the whole canvas into an airbrushed blob when I wanted to make a tiny line. I guess I'd just have to learn to pay attention. And that is a lot to ask, but I do think it would be worth it. Oh wow, I actually thought this one would be way closer. It's still close, but more of you are married to the undo tool than I thought. Honestly though, fair. I talk a big game about being willing to give it up, but I instinctively try to press it even when I'm drawing on paper, so I might be overestimating my self-control, and the rest of you are just vastly more self-aware. Anyway, next button. You excel at every art style, but you now find all of them ugly. Yeah, no. Maybe the easiest no so far, actually. I make art because I want to make something I think is beautiful. And while other people also finding it beautiful is obviously a nice bonus when it happens, that wouldn't be enough for me on its own. I'm not gonna make art that I can't appreciate even if I have total assurance that everyone else will because it's good. There's just no point to me. Plus, it's not just my art that I would have to find ugly, it's all art. And art is literally what makes life worth living for me, whether it's making it or enjoying it. If I suddenly stopped being able to love it, I don't know who I'd even be as a person anymore. I'd have to develop a personality and interests outside of it, and we've established that that's not happening. Yeah, I'm not surprised to be in the majority here. I can't imagine a lot of people would want to be good at art if it meant they wouldn't like any of it anymore. Why even have that skill at that point if you don't even vaguely enjoy using it? At that point, the only real benefit is being good enough at art to make a living at it. But if that doesn't make you happy, then it's the same as literally any other soul-sucking day job. So just get any other soul-sucking day job and be able to enjoy art when you're not working it. Okay, next. You can draw perfectly in your favorite style, but nobody will ever be able to see your art. Yeah, that's another easy no. I know I just said I make art because I like it and not to please anyone else 2 buttons ago, but that doesn't mean I don't find sharing it rewarding enough to not want to not be able to. Wow, okay, imagine that was a well-worded sentence. My point is, I make art for me, but part of the happiness I get from that comes from sharing it with other people afterwards. I want to tell stories and express ideas and draw copious amounts of Bungo Stray Dogs fan art that I share with other people who make me feel better about how much of my brain it occupies, because it occupies just as much of theirs. Art is expression, and sure, a lot of the joy of making it is found in expressing it just for yourself, but I don't know. I think expression is inherently social in a lot of ways. If you don't want to share the thing that you're expressing with art, you don't really need to express it at all. It's already in your head. And it probably looks better there than you can bring it to life anyway. The process of making art itself is amazing, but I honestly think I'd find it less rewarding if the end result was something only I could see. Also, let's be real, even if that wasn't the case, people need money. I need to pay rent, and art is how I do that. I can't imagine a lot of people would be willing to pay me to make something they wouldn't be able to see. I generally don't go to McDonald's and order a burger and just leave, and go home without eating or even seeing it, perfectly satisfied by the knowledge that it just exists now. So I'd have to find a new job, and I really don't want to go back to marketing. So that in and of itself is a deal breaker. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that's reassuring. It doesn't feel awesome admitting that you're essentially desperate enough for attention that you'd rather have it than perfect skill, but at least I'm not alone. That tells me it's probably not just I'm vain as shit, and it might be more most artists make art to share it. Thank you, now I can sleep at night. Kind of. Maybe. Anyway, next one. You can draw for at least 5 hours a day, but you also must draw for at least 5 hours every day. Yeah, that's almost an immediate yes. I already have to draw for 5 hours a day to do it for a living, so actually having a guarantee that I'll get those 5 hours uninterrupted every single day without anything outside of my art bubble interrupting it would be a dream come true. Yeah, I get why this is relatively close, even if it was such an easy press for me. 5 hours is a medium shift at work, so having to do that every day is essentially a commitment to making art your job, or at least the side hustle that you sacrifice sleep for. That makes this easy for me since it's already my job and I'd basically be committing to doing exactly what I'm already doing. For a lot of people though, that's gonna feel more like an obligation than a gift, and probably force them to commodify their art to be able to get by to a degree that they might not honestly want. I get that. Alright, next button. You become an incredibly successful, highly paid artist, but your best-selling pieces are the ones that you enjoy the least, and you need to keep producing them in order to maintain that success. Joke's on you, button. That's literally already my life, except without the success and the money. My fan art sells maybe 10 times as much as my original art at conventions and online, and it gets vastly more engagement on social media, and that's just kind of the way it is for almost everyone. And even if it wasn't fan art, it would probably be commercial art. Look at Andy Warhol. He redefined commercial art and literally defined pop art, but the work that he was famous for was what he enjoyed the least, and he talked at length about hating not feeling like a real artist. The Venn diagram of what an artist likes making the most and what's most popular doesn't overlap nearly as often as anyone wants it to. And I guess I just love making all of it so much that that doesn't really bother me anymore. Like, I sincerely derive so much joy from the fan art I make, and I only make fan art of things I love. So even if I technically enjoy fan art the least compared to the projects that mean the most to me and the styles I prefer to work in, I still enjoy making it so much that it's fine with me to prioritize it. A button that gives me success and money for doing what I'm already doing? Not only would I press it, I would commit any number of crimes for the opportunity to. Huh, that's actually closer than I thought, mostly because I guess I underestimated the number of people who actually want to make a living off of art and not just make it. Although I guess if you love making it enough, of course you want to make it your job. That's literally exactly why I did. And in a weird way, it's kind of wholesome that most people said yes. Like, yeah, it's depressing that they'd rather sacrifice the ability to make the art they love the most to essentially late-stage capitalism, but the fact that sacrificing it to late-stage capitalism is worth it to them because they love art so much that just making it at all is enough is just nice. Me too. But let's move on to the next one. You can meet your favorite artist of all time, but they will hate your art. Yeah, easy yes. You think I care if Junji Ito thinks my art is shit? Hell, that just means we have something in common other than being outwardly adorable and internally horrifying. The opportunity to meet him and just like talk to him and learn about his process and hear about his inspirations, that's worth so much more to me than him not hating my art. I don't want to meet him because I want validation for my art. I want to meet him because I love his. Oh damn, I am not in the majority with that one, okay. I mean, that's fair. It would be pretty soul-crushing to have your idol basically say, thanks for liking my art, but yours is trash and you should probably just give up. I can see why that wouldn't be worth it for a lot of people. Maybe I just love Junji Ito too much, or hate my own art too much. I don't care. Either way, I stand by my answer. Next up, you can immediately draw perfectly in any style you choose, but you can never earn money from your art again. Okay, I sincerely wish I could press this one. I do. I don't want money to be a factor in any part of my relationship with art, but realistically, I love making it enough for it to be worth it to accept that it has to be if I want to make it all the time. And like I said with one of the previous buttons, I don't want to do a job that isn't art related. Unlike literally every other day job I've ever worked, it doesn't suck my soul out of my body every time I work a shift. If I couldn't make money at the only thing I love enough to do it that much every day, I think I would probably just cease to exist. I would love to draw in any style perfectly, but not at the cost of, well, existing. Happily anyway. Yeah, after the last one made it clear how many artists are actively pursuing it as a job, that's not a surprising result. If making money from a thing you love is the only way you can do it all the time, it's gonna monumentally suck not to be able to. Fair. Okay, next button. You will always be able to draw exactly what's in your head, but all of the art that you've made before that point will be deleted, and you can never redraw it. Maybe this is a hot take, but that's an incredibly easy yes. Nothing I've ever drawn has been exactly what I wanted it to be, and losing all of that in exchange for an indefinite future of making just that is a pretty obvious decision. Yeah, I'm attached to a lot of the art that I've made, and I do love a lot of it, but I have my whole life ahead of me, and I'll be able to make a lot more. And if I have the ability to make it look exactly like I want, I'm pretty sure I'll end up loving it more than I love what I've made so far, since I'll actually be able to meet my own expectations for the first time in 27 years. Oh, wow, okay, that was indeed a hot take, and it's kind of nice that it was, honestly. I'd rather be in the minority here. I'd rather people love their art's imperfections more than the promise of the absence of them in the future. I want to be you. I'm just too much of a perfectionist and maybe a coward to be, and that probably makes me more miserable than anything else, so it's a relief that most people don't feel the same way. But moving on, next up, you can draw perfectly in the style you've always wanted to achieve, but your art will be stolen by generative AI. Honestly, the pessimist in me almost immediately said yes, because that's literally just gonna happen to everyone at this point anyway, so I may as well get something in return for it, since it's not like any generative AI developer is gonna pay artists for anything they steal from us. But upon more careful consideration, I realized that the wording implied that they wouldn't be able to steal from me if I didn't press this button, at least in this beautiful hypothetical world. So I rescind my automatic yes. If I could stop them, I would, and that's worth way more to me than being perfect at art. Okay, it was close, which is fair because obviously perfection is tempting as shit, but I'm glad to be in the majority with this one. That means the majority of artists want to fight back against AI, even if it means making their own lives harder, and that kind of gives me hope. Next one, you become excellent at drawing, but never in your preferred style. Yeah, hard no. I'm already relatively good at realism and avoid it at all costs because I hate it compared to anime, so I know very well how unfulfilling it is to make work that other people think is good, but you don't enjoy at all. I guess that might contradict what I said before when I said I would press the "you're successful and rich, but only from art you don't enjoy" button, but like, that gave me something in return. Even if it was realism and not fan art that I had to do to make money, I would still be fine with it if it meant I got to stably live on art forever. But the only thing I get in return here is being good at something I don't like, and working in marketing taught me an important lesson in how deeply unrewarding that is. So no, I will not. Yeah, I'm not surprised. People don't generally make art that they don't like at all or find even vaguely appealing, and most people learn how to make it so they can do it in a style that they want. It kind of loses its purpose if that aspect is taken away, at least to me, and almost 80% of you, I guess, which is reassuring that I'm not just being a baby for the millionth time. Oh good, it's time to contradict myself again with the next one. Your fan art earns you exceptional amounts of fame and money, but your original art will never be seen or appreciated again. Okay, I know I literally just said that I like making fan art enough for it to be worth it to me to do that full time, instead of pursuing my own original work, but I can't press this button. Not being able to spend the majority of my time on my original work is very different than never having it seen again. Ultimately, I love making fan art more than enough to devote most of my time to it, but it's still incredibly important to me to spend my downtime working on the original ideas that I became an artist to express in the first place. The stories I want to tell with my comics and games are still worth more to me than even the fan art I enjoy the most, and not being able to ever share them again would be pretty soul-crushing. Yeah, I figured most people would feel the same way. Not making money on original art is one thing, but not being able to have it even be seen is just too far. Alright, time for the last button. You become the best artist in the world, but you can never see or perceive your own work even as you make it. Okay, I can't believe I'm turning down the idea of becoming the best artist in the world without even hesitating, but I really don't see the point if I can't see any of the art that I make or enjoy the process of making it. I'm not gonna want to be the world's best chef if I can't eat anything I cook, and I don't see how this is any different than that. Making money aside, I guess, but if profit is the only motivator, I'd rather just do another job and not ruin art by making it something I'm physiologically incapable of enjoying. Yeah, okay, you guys get it. As much as I think all of us probably want our art skill to be as good as it can be, and appreciate it as such, it's hard to imagine that being worth not being able to enjoy it ourselves, or even see it. It's like having infinite money to spend on Amazon, but you never get your orders. But that's it, we are finally at the end. Way later than I anticipated when I decided it was a good idea to do this. Thanks for sticking with me till the end if you did, and thank you again to everyone who submitted dilemmas. This was so much fun, and I really hope you liked it as much as I liked making it. If you did, please comment and let me know, because I'd definitely be down to turn this into a series if people are interested. For now though, thank you for watching, and special thank you as always to channel members Joseph Solomon, TC Pratt, Haruki Saluzzo, Peachy, King Good James, Art of Amethyst Fable, Extinction Animation, Andy the Hedgehog, Kai the Memer, Jazz, Abyss Reborn, Veranote, and Josayori, as well as patrons Batman, Kyle Lowe, Blue Swanson, Cora Fear, Jamisha Walker, Langshi, Kim Yen, Crazy Asar, Gantong, Grayson Xavier, Blah Mage, TC Pratt, Finn, Celine Merriman, Eldritchia, The Stray Dog, Ulura, Greg Noble, Decagon, Jenny Chan, Catbus, Mac, Lucia Majiki, Selena Beebe, Pride Day, Totally Shogun, Insomniac Sleep Schedule, Wing Tang Wong, Marie Greer, Potato, Jazz, Voidwalker, Latte Tabby, and Christian Cook, and I'll see you in the next one.